First of all, Joe Rogan clarifies that he has not endorsed RFK, okay? He gets on a video, and on this video, he says he's the only guy that seems like he's not calling anybody out. If you want to pull it up, Rob, he's not calling anybody out. Just play the clip. We'll go from here.
That's politics. They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. You know, before anybody started calling him an anti-vaxxer, which I thought he was too. I thought he was this nut, this like conspiracy theorist nut, until I read his book. I read The Real Anthony Fauci, and I'm like, what is it? How much of this is real? Because if it's all real, this is fucking insane, and we live in a world where we're being manipulated by these health organizations that are being paid by the pharmaceutical drug interests. And these pharmaceutical drug companies are pumping these products out into the population and telling us that we need them, and then making insane amounts of money.
So he makes this comment. Trump comes out with a tweet. Trump says, I wonder what the fans are going to react when he walks into the next UFC. I'm sure did you guys read that on the Unusual Suspect? Mm-hmm. You know, how they're going to react when they walk in. Just go to images, Rob. It'll pop up if you go to images. And, you know, he makes these comments, and then Rogan comes back and says, I'm not endorsing RFK. All I'm doing is, you know, he says, that's not an endorsement. Clarifies RFK is likes RFK as a person. Confusion over Rogan's position on election arose following Tuesday during the appearance. Kennedy differentiate. For the record, this isn't an endorsement. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person, and I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of this in this world. I also think Trump raising his fist and saying fight after getting shot is one of the most American effing things of all time. Okay, so that's that. Back and forth, and then it'll be interesting to see how loudly Joe Rogan gets booed next time he enters the UFC ring. And then you know what Joe Rogan does? Joe Rogan goes, by the way, kill Tony. Tony Hinchcliffe is killing it. That's exactly what he's doing. The guy's on freaking fire. Mm-hmm. Selling out arenas with his show that he's doing. I think he's got the best comedy show on podcast in the world, apparently. Kill Tony, yeah. But Rogan posts a picture. Maybe one of the best pictures he's posted on Instagram. If you go to Rogan's Instagram, this is why Rogan understands the simple concept of humor. And if you look at the picture that he posts a picture saying, don't worry, we got it squared away. Me and Trump are good. And what was it? A picture of him and Shane Gillis, right? And it gets 500,000 likes, and everybody laughs, and everybody moves on. The power of humor, right, when this takes place. When an exchange like this happens, Vinny, how do you process this? When that happened with Joe, you know, RFK, Trump, back and forth, Shane Gillis, humor, how do you process that?
Okay, so I'm going to take a couple of different angles because I know exactly where Joe Rogan is a grown man. He could say what he wants, who he likes, and it shouldn't really bother anybody. On the other side, I could see the Trump people, because mind you, when this happened, you have no idea how many messages I got because I tried to play devil's advocate, PBD. You have to understand, coming from Trump hearing him saying, all these people gaslight you. He said all of them, so that includes Donald Trump. So he lumped them in there, and he said all these people do this, and the only one and is not attacking people. The only one that's not doing it is RFK. From Donald Trump's point of view, you know he's a loyalist. Joe Rogan doesn't owe him anything. But if you think about it, Joe Rogan has had how many years now? 7 years. Trump has shown through and throughout that he is exactly what the country needs. All the stuff that they did to him with CNN and turning his color green for COVID, they did all that with Trump. They've been going after Trump this whole time. So I think Trump felt like, hey, listen, I've been nothing but I've proved myself through and through. When I see you at the UFC, I shake your hand, I give you respect. Even all that, you haven't put me on your podcast. You don't even want to have me on your podcast. He said in the past he doesn't want to. So being Trump, I'm thinking as Trump, being the loyalist pan, he wants loyalty. Not that, again, he doesn't owe it to him. But I feel like for him to come out after everything that Trump has bled, he was shot in the head, and getting to the point where he's showing you all this love and everything, for you to still say, like, I'm gaslighting and I'm attacking the same people that are attacking attacking you have been attacking me for 7 years. So I feel like Donald Trump, by the way, not a good move. I don't agree with it. I don't think coming out there and saying something like that, you could have said something like, hey, listen, not cool, Joe. I've been over here for, the whole time. I'm not a gaslighter. I'm not like that. But, that's how Trump rolls, bro. And that's how I feel.
So I think, you look at it, and I thought Rogan was making a very casual point, a clear point. I read the book. You read RFK's book on Fauci. We know how Rogan feels about vaccinations. Everything went along with that. And he's talking about that. And he said, I found a reasonable guy. But right now, we are at the height of sensitivity, and we are in the middle of incredibly hot media and trying to figure out, is the Kamala bounce that we're seeing in the polls, is it really only 1-2%? Is it more than that? There is such a backstory going on here. And I think Trump is very, his ears are hypersensitive right now to what he's hearing from people. And I don't know if it was the best move to kind of come out on Rogan like that, but I don't think Rogan meant ill will, trying to besmirch him. And I applaud Rogan for coming back and saying, hey, I wasn't endorsing him. This is what I was doing. So I thought Rogan was just trying not to keep it flamed, but to kind of get it to calm down and clarify.
But let me ask you a question, Tom. Do you feel like Trump is a little bit perturbed that the number one podcast, I know he's flip-flopping back and forth with Tucker, that he hasn't not necessarily endorsed him, but have him on the podcast, have a conversation with them, to publicly come out and say, no, I'm not interested in giving him a podcast at all. You don't feel that kind of, and again, I don't like what Trump did. I know there's people out there like, oh, brainwash you, whatever. No, it's not a good move. He had no reason to. Why do that? It's almost as if a Gen Z person got on the phone and texted. You don't think it bothers him that he hasn't even invited him in on this podcast?
I can't speak to the Trump campaign strategy for where they're going to be interviewing, what the media travel plan is. Right now, Kamala Harris doesn't sit down with anybody. Yeah. So I can't say who's thinking what and who's concerned. There's a lot of open chairs with a lot of very influential podcasts that could really help this election and help with strategy. And so I think Trump could be a lot of places. I can't read into what he may or may not have been thinking about Rogan's scheduling and whether Trump's even available, where he was going.
Adam.
So the question I think we need to ask is, was this a good move or a bad move for Trump to respond viciously to Joe Rogan? I would say it's a stupid move, President Trump. Why make Joe Rogan an enemy at all? Joe Rogan was a Bernie Sanders guy 8 years ago, and he's inched closer and closer and closer and closer to your world. Many people think that Joe Rogan is a right-wing kook. He's not. He's a free thinker. He's an independent. He's a libertarian, probably, that likes to shoot guns, eat venison and meat, and smoke weed and do his thing. And certainly we know about UFC. Why at all have an issue with Rogan? How does that help you increase voters? It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't at all.
And it ruins your relationship with Dana, because now you put Dana White in an awkward position because he walks in with the guy and he works for him.
Yeah, I mean, and
not a good move.
We had a conversation. We have a bet whether Trump is going to go on Rogan. We'll see.
Yeah.
Does this accelerate that?
This does not. No, it does not.
I'm so mad.
Let me just.
You don't think this accelerates it?
No.
Accelerate it to not to go on. Oh, this I think hindered.
It's the opposite.
Really?
I think it's completely the opposite.
Let me tell you why. You have no idea how the perfect storm happened. What is the perfect storm? Everybody follows someone's lead. Okay? And Joe is gifted because he's hypersensitive. The hypersensitive people, we link hypersensitivity as a negative thing. Okay? Obviously, there's hypersensitive, super insecure, lazy. That's dangerous. Mm-hmm. Right? Did you understand those three?
Yes.
Hypersensitive, insecure, and lazy is very dangerous. Those three. Hypersensitivity with you're comfortable in your own skin and you're driven, that's Michael, super hypersensitive. Are you kidding me? He still doesn't talk to Scotty or Charles Barkley. Your best friend.
Yeah.
What did Barkley do? All he did is do his job.
Yeah.
Do you realize why they're not speaking? He explained why they didn't speak. Because Barkley went and worked for TNT, said a couple words about Michael. That's the last time he spoke.
Done deal.
How dare you cut me like that? Yeah. Okay. Trump, hypersensitive. How dare you say something like this about me? Okay? Hypersensitive. Who else do you know that's hypersensitive? Think about the people you know that are hypersensitive, but they have the ultimate trifecta. Hypersensitive, confident, and driven. Okay?
Tiger Woods. Don't say nothing about him or his coach when he was at his playing peak.
I know. There you go. Him as well. So Rogan is hypersensitive. He's secure. And he's driven. You don't have to make this guy work. Who just did the biggest podcast in the history of mankind?
Elon and Trump on
Elon
Space.
Musk has officially done the biggest podcast in the history of mankind. Ever. It's done. He broke the record.
Yeah.
Okay? 1 billion views. He put the number up. You understand what that means?
Yeah.
So guess what? Joe doesn't now have to worry about anybody saying, you helped Trump get elected. Now Joe can just go and do it and say, well, you must did it. I'm just doing a regular podcast. It's not going to get 1 billion views because Joe doesn't have 190 million followers on Twitter and X. Musk does. Joe's not worth $250 billion. Joe's a billionaire. If he's not a billionaire, he's going to be there in the next 24 months if he's not there right now. I'm just saying he's a billionaire because if he's not, it's because he doesn't give a shit about being a billionaire. Yeah. But he's going to be a billionaire. You know, Musk has got a mission he's on. Joe's not on a mission. Joe's enjoying his life, right? And his mission is a different mission that he's got. One is trying to go land on the moon. One is trying to keep humanization. Joe is just kind of trying to have the conversation, enjoy his life, be a good father, do his best as a human being. That's what he's trying to do. So I actually think this perfect storm of this feud happening with RFK, with Musk having Trump on, accelerated the process of him getting on. And on top of this, guess what the conversation is right now behind closed doors? That Trump's campaign managers are about to get fired. And Trump is potentially having a conversation with bringing Kellyanne Conway as a campaign manager.
Bringing her back?
Yeah. Bringing her back. And by the way, Kellyanne is, to me, is a stud of a person. We've dealt with some of the campaign managers on the inside. Here's a problem when you have a campaign manager on the inside that are sensitive, and I'm not saying they are, but an article was written about a year ago, okay? And one of our guys wrote the article, and this article gets posted. WTF, what is this all about? What do you mean? One of the guys wrote the article. The article alluded to something about some investment that was raised years back. Wasn't a positive article about somebody. Bone. Unfollow, silence, everything. Okay? So, no problem. This is when the call is happening that something may happen for conversation. And then I'm at all the Republican presidential debates
and everything.
Yeah. And I'm running into these guys, and I'm just seeing how they're processing issues, okay? And I'm sitting with Chris Pavlovsky from Rumble, who's, by the way, the guy's freaking kicking ass.
I love that guy.
Very happy for the guy, what he's doing. Good for him. I hope Rumble becomes a $100 billion company, and they whoop some ass, and they compete. And love the fire. I think he's the right guy for the job, and he's doing a good job. So keep at it. So we're meeting around these people. As a campaign manager, this is what you have to be careful with. There's a difference between you not doing something because of your ego that hurts the chances of the person you're representing. For example, I have this conversation with Sam all the time. Handlers have a lot of power. Campaign managers have a lot of power. What do handlers do? Let me explain what a handler can do. How much power does a handler have?
A lot, because any conversation that you should or shouldn't have, they're making that decision of who you should talk to and who you should.
They have one thing that is more powerful than anything, and that is access.
Yeah, handling you.
They're handling access to whoever they're trying to reach, whether it's Trump,
control
whether it's
the
PBD.
calendar and the agenda of who talks to the person they're handling.
What are the worst handlers?
The ones that let their personal opinions and their views get involved with who that you should be talking to.
Let me put it, if your handler, after meeting people through you, is the first to post a picture of the person they just met, it's about fame.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you sharing the pictures of who you just met? You're a handler.
They forget they're a handler.
Your job is to be a handler. You chose this job. Don't do this job if you want to be famous and cool. Jonah Mendes, one of the best things she ever told me, this is the former chief disguise officer of the CIA. When I asked her, repeatedly, this was one of the best things ever said on an interview I ever did. I said, what's the great quality of a CIA agent? I said, is it to be charming? Is it to be charismatic? Is it to be a great salesperson? Is it to be a good negotiator? Is it to be, what is it? It says, is it to be driven? Is it to be competitive? He said, it's all of that plus one thing. I said, what's that? Have I told you this story?
I was going to guess.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what she said. I've told you this story. Here's what she said. It gave me the chills all over my, I was in front of the White House when I interviewed her. With the set in the back is the White House.
Sick.
If you actually go to this, Rob, type in Jonah Mendes by David, she says they have to be charming, charismatic, all this other stuff. But one thing is very important. They don't need any recognition. And if they save the free world, they don't have to tell anybody about it. That's the podcast. White House is right behind us.
Oh, that's a sick
Can you go
shot.
to the picture that shows the White House, Rob? You just had it right there. One of the takes shows the White. That's the White House right behind us. So she says they don't have to tell anybody about it. Sometimes handlers want to act like it's cool that they're on the inside to be with Trump. You have to fire those handlers. This is not about being cool. This is a proper person doesn't have to be impressed that they're around you, that they have to brag about it. Kellyanne Conway is fantastic because she's been around so many big personalities. It's like, listen, I respect you. I'm doing the job because I'm doing it for America. So I think right now, with the perfect storm of Musk just having Trump on, of his feud with Trump over RFK, of the campaign managers potentially getting fired and being replaced by somebody else, and to top it off, RFK goes and has a meeting with Kamala Harris's team for a job on the campaign. I think all of these things accelerated the chances of.
Is that story accurate? Did he actually meet with her?
Well, there were reports.
This is WAPO.
This is WAPO.
This is WAPO. Look, for those of you guys that watch this podcast loyally and you're convinced the future looks bright, you're part of the 51% future looks bright, 49% only the paranoid survive. I'm excited about what's going on here. More and more, no matter where I go, I see this gear. No, I go in Vegas. I see everywhere I'm seeing future looks bright. Future looks, hey, yo, PBD, future looks bright. Future. I love it and it excites me. I want to show you some pictures of guys that have bought the merch and they send it to me. By the way, if you have bought merch, Rob, if you can go to the pictures, I airdropped it to you. I don't know if you have them or not. Did you get them? No. I thought I airdropped them to you. Let me send them to your MacBook. Maybe that'll be faster. So if it's coming through. If you've bought gear of Future Looks Bright, Angry Patriot, anything with Valuetainment, anything with PBD Podcast, share it with us. We want to recognize you. Just the other day, we got some of them. We can't go through all of them, but we got some. I'm going to show you some of them here. One of them is an NFL player playing for the Baltimore Ravens, going through the frickin', what do you call it?
No way.
When he's going to the...
So like the running back?
No, he's going
No, those are the walk-in from the bus to the locker room.
Make more. When he's going through the, not locker room, the hall.
It's a stadium hall, yeah.
Stadium hall. He's going through the hall. Guess what shirt he's wearing?
The tunnel.
Frickin' Future Looks
Are
Bright.
you serious?
Yeah. Rob, did it go through or none of them went through?
It's taking a second to download, but I'll have them in just a second.
Don't worry. I'll show it to you here in a minute. Anyways, once they go to Rob, we'll show it to you. Here's what we got today. The biggest complaint I've gotten the last 90 days is, Pat, why do these USA gear, hat, these things, why do they sell out so quickly? Why is it that it's so limited and all this other stuff? Look, it is what it is. But here's what we got going on today, which is going to be crazy. For those of you that believe the future looks bright and you love the brand and you love USA and you love America, you want to sport it, go to work with it where you're comfortable saying, I love USA and I believe future looks bright, we got a couple things I want to tell you. The USA hats are officially back. But again, limited supply. Order now, you will have it within 3 to 4 weeks. Order now, these USA hats, because if you don't now, they're going to be delivered in Christmas. This is all I'm telling you. For all the people that said, Pat, if you put it up, I'm going to buy 5 for my family, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. This is your time to do it. The USA hats are here. But on top of this, we got something that I've been wearing for the last 2 months. And this is an easy thing for me to sell you, because when you have what they call Jesus feet, and you're Syrian, you're from that community, and you have worn a lot of different flip-flops, it's critical to wear flip-flops that are sick and comfortable. I am in love with these new flip-flops. You can call me the Syrian Al Bundy, but I'm going to sell you flip-flops today. Let me tell you what's so cool about this. This gel right here, if you're familiar with some of those Jordans that you wear, that they have the gels on the flip-flops and it's comfortable to walk around, similar technology to this, except when you sport this and you're walking around your community, in the house, wherever you're going, at the beach, It's got the USA flag on it, and it says future looks bright with the Valuetainment gear. This one, we have limited supply of 500. You buy these, they're going to sell out in no time. If you're a person that walks around in flip-flops and they're not comfortable, you're sick of it, you want to wear something comfortable, and you want to represent the brand and the optimism of future looks bright, go order this gear, Rob. If you can go to the screenshot so they can see it, go to vtmerch.com. Or simply, is there a QR code for them to go see it, Rob, or not?
There will be a link in the description and pinned to the chat.
Go do that, and then when you do get them in, do me a favor. These can come in the next 3, 4, 5 days if you order today, but it's the first 500. Tag us when you do take the pictures. We'll share some of these pictures here with you.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.